Hello everyone, KJO-premium movie. This time, the final version of R35 GT-R. Well, this is the R35 GT-R. This is a model that became a standalone car. Model called GT-R with the Skyline name no longer attached to the name. This is different from Skyline GT-R. This is the theme of the video I will be doing today. I remember saying it was R for this, so I purposely abbreviated it like this. This one has a really clear for this, so I purposely abbreviated it like this. This one has a really clear difference from the previous one. KJO-premium movie supports people who enjoy car life by themselves. Today is Friday, so let's talk about R35 GT-R. Delivering car manufacturing information. I will also explain the value and price balance of MY24 and MY25. Yes, it is a clearly different GT-R, but this is a must-see for those who want to know the value of the package. This time I'll be talking about quite a bit of technical content, and the subscribers of this channel have studied quite a lot of things, and many of them are very knowledgeable. I dare to tell you this story. I believe that it will be helpful to everyone. So please read it until the end. What is the category of GT-R? Well, I guess you could call it a segment. The number of failures is different. The recent Nissan GT-R. Difference between decoration and performance. What is the balance between price and value? I would like to talk about. In a past video, I talked about how attractive the final model of the GT-R is, and how the R35 GT-R's MY24 and 25 have changed and are really cool. I worked as an engineer at Toyota Motor Corporation making cars for 25 years, and now I run a used car sales company. So I talked about this from both perspectives. The GT-R is a unique car after all. I will definitely talk to you today. So, what is the category of GT-R? Well, it might be what is commonly called a segment. This is what happens when this GT-R R35 challenges a category that does not fit into traditional segments. What are these? A seg, B seg, C seg, D seg, E seg, L seg, luxury, etc., which have been added recently, are the divisions that are called like that. However, this A, B, C, D, E segment has traditionally been held at motor shows for mass-produced cars like this. Yes, because of that, I think these are basically close to European standards. I think some places are already doing that. After all, Europe has always been strong in these areas. Well, that's why we had this category, D-Seg, upper medium. This is the Skyline GT-R. The Skyline itself had a grade called GT-R. Well, from that point of view, the Skyline GT-R was in this segment. In the L segment, LEXUSLC. This one actually has a similar shape and similar price, but it's completely different from the GT-R. This vehicle falls into the L-Seg, luxury category segment. So in that sense, there is a big difference. It's not a sports car, it's an LC as the name suggests. So, it's a luxury coupe. In that sense, they are completely different. So this GT-R category is a challenge to a category that doesn't fit into any other category. So, what category did they try? It's ambiguous. It's called supercar, supersport, and, recently, hypercar. I think this is called by various names depending on the price, but I purposely segmented it within super sports like this. This is my original, where the horizontal axis is the circuit and the vertical axis is the price. I cut it like this and classified it according to where the circle point is positioned. The reason why I chose this location is because I had the opportunity to experience these types of vehicles when I was working at an automobile company. I'm not saying exactly, but for example, it's not a Lamborghini Huracan, but it's also a Ferrari. Also, there is a car called Pagani Automobili, which I will explain in detail later. But when I saw it in front of me, heard the engine sound, and saw it moving, I realized that something like this actually exists, and it was a great learning experience. I guess it's something like that. With that in mind, where does the GT-R fit into this supersport category? That being said, I decided to use this as the reference car for the R35 GT-R, which has a perfect balance between price and circuit performance. And this time, I think the midship of the Corvette is the C7. But I haven't touched or driven it since then. I don't think I can categorize it here at all because I haven't seen it yet. I haven't given any points. I've included a vehicle that I at least rode alongside, saw, touched, and saw how it was constructed. Well, that's about it. I think it would be a good idea to think about this. But depending on the circuit, the price is high. There is also a Pagani Huayra that is said to cost hundreds of millions of yen, but this was also at the Gazoo racing event when Toyota was there, and they borrowed a car like that, and they took it to a certain circuit, Spanish era, and they sold Ferraris and Lamborghinis. I don't think there was one. There was also the Lexus LFA, Porsche, Tesla, etc., and there were many other things like that. There were compacts, GR86s, and things like that, and I tried to compare them and learn something from them, and I looked at them at an event to see what the differences were. But yeah, this Pagani is amazing. It's completely built like a racing car, with a pipe frame and a monocoque body. What's this about? There are other monocoque bodies, but the structure is completely ... It's an injection. Only this part is made of carbon and is called a bathtub. There is a thing that creates this injection and gives it strength in a square shape like this. From there, make a frame with pipes in the front and back and place the tires, engine, and various other things. So, it really is a racing car. It's built the same as the Formula and those WEC cars that race at Le Mans. So, it's really amazing. It's like it's in another dimension. This is really a racing car. The price is amazing, but the contents and construction are amazing. This Pagani is the only car that can't really be driven on public roads. It's a car that doesn't have a license plate and is sold as a track-only car. But I hear that there are people who buy it all over the world, and I often look at it like this. It makes me wonder what kind of thing it is. Well, I guess it's the same as buying a GT500 car, but I wonder if someone who wants to do that kind of racing or something like that would be able to ride one. I'm sorry for this, but I won't say much more because it's a world of speculation, but there is such a dimension of Pagani. Well, I've been to see GT500 cars and have seen them with my own eyes, but the 500 cars are a little different. due to the power, and there are various regulations and circumstances. So that's what it is. I think so. But it's a little different. Although it is specialized for sports, the GP300 is based on a commercially available car, such as a Lamborghini or Ferrari, and is used as a base with so-called custom tuning and run in races. So the GT500 and 300, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but there's a race in Japan called the Super GT Championship, where races from different categories run together. It's a time difference, or a difference in level. Like, I think it's better to think about the difference in level. So, when you look at something like this Pagani and then look at a Lamborghini or Ferrari, you end up thinking, oh, it's a popular car or a mass-produced car. No. What do you say? What are you talking about? That being said, if you look at the level of construction, Ferrari and Lamborghini are still cars that you can drive normally. On the other hand, Porsche is also turbo. It's a little more expensive than Nismo in terms of price, but its performance is quite high depending on the circuit. Well, that's why Porsche's Turbo S has a lot of sports performance. In these kinds of places, it feels like, actually, if you talk about various things, like the time difference between this circuit and other things, the position of this point will change quite a bit. So I guess that's what it means. This is based on my actual experience, so this position may be slightly different. I think the difference between Ferrari and Lamborghini is about the same, but various fans and people who know more about European cars will tell you that this one is even better. I think that there are areas where I am lacking in studying, so I will follow everyone's own knowledge. But I think you can generally think of it as this category. If that's the case, then from the standard R35 car, it's just a position where the price circuit is balanced. So it's only to a certain extent. I think it's supported. Instead, Porsche also has the same one. This isn't the Porsche 911 Turbo, but there are cars in a similar price range that tend to sell more. So, with the NSX, we took on the challenge of becoming a hybrid, so the sports level and circuit level were a little lower, but the price was high. So, Lexus LC, this is the L segment that I mentioned earlier. So, it's expensive, but it's very popular. So, in terms of sportiness, to be honest, I don't feel it at all. 34 GT-R, what's so special about this? One is that it falls into the Skyline category. So, if you think about it in terms of a 35, the feeling of being able to ride it normally is quite different. There are various issues such as minimum ground clearance, road selection, width issues, etc. The first category I would like to explain is that the R35 falls into the super sports category. So, secondly, the number of failures is different. Yes, that's right. Brand equals brand power equals history. Well, I think brand power is the number of trusts. The same goes for my own YouTube channel, and the same goes for my company. But I believe that brand power comes down to trust. This is already history, and I think of it as the history of overcoming failures. I wish we could go to all the car manufacturers and other companies that are still in existence today. So I really respect companies that have continued to do well. That's what I want to be, and the fact that I continue to do so is an amazing thing. So, Porsche has been around since 1931. But is it okay to say that Porsche is now a Volkswagen brand? It has become a wholly owned subsidiary, so there are capital relationships. Well, a lot of things are now in a state where there are some restrictions. So, Ferrari and Lamborghini have been supercars since the early 1900s, and they are car manufacturers that have worked hard in the category called hypercars. In response, we started working on developing the GT-R, which took shape in 2007. I think they started working on it around 2000 and were finally able to release it to the world. So, I'm temporarily setting it as 2000. As you can see, there are differences in this and the beginning. After all, I think the Nissan GT-R is amazing. In the field of supercars and hypercars, I think it's undeniable that I'm a latecomer. Then Toyota has LFA. Right, that's what I mean. Well, I'll talk about LFA a little later. But I think it's a bit wrong to put it in this category. So, the number of failures is different. And this GT-R, how much has it actually sold? From 2007 to 2016, the so-called middle period of the first half, we have the data up to this point, and it has been steadily declining. But from the second half onwards, motion. As for the later motion and the final model, no data has been released so far, but in the sense that it has been driving sales volume, it is. The first initial model is driving the sales volume, and the main target is North America, where sales are on par with Japan, and sales are only slightly higher. So, in Europe, we're struggling with less than that. When it comes to world cars, they are very popular all over the world. For example, the Roadster, which has a sales ratio of 10% in Japan. So I think it is a very successful example overseas. The overseas sales ratio is very high, and it is loved all over the world. In that sense, we tried to enter the same category, but for the GT-R, it is definitely that category. The super sports category is extremely expensive. Honestly, I think it's a wall. Well, since I was working at Toyota, I've been saying that the walls are very high, and now Toyota is also trying out various things like WEC and WRC and doing activities like that. I think they've been steadily working on raising their profile and building a brand since then, but it's such a big hurdle that they haven't clearly taken on the challenge yet. That's what it means. For example, Toyota made a debut there with the GT-R and continues to do their best, and since it has reached MY24, my thoughts as a one GT-R fan are to not extinguish this challenge. What do you think of the recent Nissan GT-R? That being said, I think this is great. This is a decoration strategy. What is this decoration strategy? I mean, it's a luxury after all. Many car makeup companies are already doing this by adding a variety of features that look convenient and trendy, but they focus on the consumer's psychological desire to purchase and continue to do so. It means to keep pushing out. Well, the actual number of cars isn't going up that much, but for example, Toyota's Lexus is already amazing. I also worked for Lexus, so I'm very thorough. A certain car critic said that Lexus is Toyota Deluxe, and I wonder if that's how they say it. But is it being praised? I'm trying to figure it out somehow, but it's actually the pursuit of this decoration. Of course, the basic idea is to have high quality, but when it comes to performance, there is a slight difference. We are not pursuing that performance, but rather the pursuit of quality and decoration. There are three elements of premium, and I was taught a lot about how to sell them, such as it's all about you, just for now. And I'll never forget these words that remain in my heart. This is what premium is all about. Lexus puts this into practice. And that's the brand's philosophy. In that sense, what is GTR? That's right, without focusing on this decoration, we just focused on improving performance. This is the difference between decoration and performance, but all cars other than the 35 GTR have already had minor changes in decoration. Different types of cars are used in different places. That's why the 35 GTR is a little different. For example, the idea behind minor car changes is to plan for a model life of about 7 years and aim to make a profit by half of that time. So, we make a plan based on what we want to achieve in terms of profits, and then production starts from there. But if the number of units does not increase, we will have to make major improvements. Even if the price changes, there are many discussions about whether to do this or that, and then the next model change is made. The big thing that tends to come out here is the change in the costume of the bumper, and it's the parts that are easy to see. Also, the interior color has been changed, which is also easy to notice. Also, minor changes often involve things like adding new colors and making slight changes to match the times. In that sense, Skyline had a lot of that, and there are various things like Spec V, but those are basically decorations. So, that kind of specially equipped car. Similarly, the GTR has egoism and decorations in various places, but it is a special purpose car. After all, so Nismo is not a decoration? Well, how is that different from a decoration? When you say that, there are some things that are quite difficult in terms of decoration. I think Nismo is a little different, with decorations focused on comfort and decorations focused on sports. Basically, cars are the ones that undergo minor changes with this kind of decoration. So, I think it's amazing that this 35 GTR has continued to take on the challenge of improving performance with the year model. So, I will continue to be a fan of the 35, and that's why I talked about the history of the evolution of the R35 GTR standard car. I briefly talked about the characteristics of each model. Finally, what is the balance between price and value? That being said, if you look at the R35's platform and competitors, it's already matured to its limits. Like the GTR. And now that he's matured, I think he's actually gone beyond his limits. It has a finish like MY24, so we have even gone so far as to comply with the regulations. So in that sense, I think the price of a new car of 15 million yen is the best we can do. What I really feel is that this performance, this platform, and this price are all over the place, and it's hard to sell or buy at a higher price. When I listen to everyone's opinions from various places, I get the impression that it's a bit expensive. Also, for those who haven't gotten their hands on the MY25 yet, I would recommend that if you add the full options that the dealer says, it will cost you 1 million or 2 million yen more. So honestly, just decline that option. It feels like if you add that, the price will be more than it's worth. So, if you want to do maintenance, you can do it. So a maintenance pack might be a good idea, but there are a lot of details. I don't dare say it. It's a little too much. I think it's better not to say that, but it's a lot. So, if you look at the Pure Edition, Premium Edition, and Black Edition of GT-R Rivals, that's about the limit? So, the only thing I'm a little concerned about is that MY25 had decorations, plates, etc. Did they do that and raise the price? Was it blue heaven? The interior has turned blue and the price has gone up. So this MY25 is a specially equipped version of the MY24. Enjoy it. I guess it's really good, because the inside is actually the same as the MY24. So I'm curious in that sense, but I think it's better to think of it as a specially equipped car, take care of it, and enjoy it. I guess it's really good. This is really my 24/25. Riding normally, I don't feel any stress at all. So, I think it's an amazing car. To be honest, the car I drove as an owner was an early model, but it was still a little stressful. I think this is a little disappointing, but in that sense, I think the maturity level of MY24/25 is amazing. So, in that sense, I think it's the best price, the best performance, the best. The value of this is that this is probably the final version. We also have a website, so please search for KJO-premium. On the sub-channel I Sell Cars, we introduce our vehicles for sale. We would be happy if you could take a look. I will also do my best on my blog, Instagram, and parts sales at Car Sensor. Displaying our vehicles for sale. I would be happy if you would consider purchasing it. It's also posted on Goo Net. Yes, so let's talk about the final version of GT-R R35, the maturation period, and the challenge of R35. I think this clearly, and I think it is in a clearly different category from the Skyline GT-R. I thought the 35 was this amazing. So it had a manual transmission. I think 35 is not that dimension. I'm looking forward to seeing what 36 will look like. Thank you very much to everyone who subscribes to the channel and watches this video. Thanks to everyone. I wonder if I can manage this channel somehow. I'm really grateful. Thank you very much for your warm comments. I will continue to think hard and talk about things that I think might be useful to you. So please take a look. I'm very happy. Well then, see you in the next video. Goodbye.